The race to the bottom of the 2024 NFL standings or the race to the top of the 2025 NFL draft order is becoming clearer and clearer by the week. College football is over. The regular season is a wrap. They finished that up this past Saturday. We're heading into bowl championship season, championship week with the conferences, and then we get into college football playoffs. NFL-wise, there is a true race to the bottom right now. Jags, the Raiders, the Giants, the Pats, the Panthers, the Jets, the Titans, all trying to position themselves to pick inside that top five. We're going to walk through it. Instant reaction based on what we just saw happen this Saturday and what we saw transpire on Sunday. So we're going to talk about it, what these teams need to do in order to improve, what players are falling down the board just a tad bit after 1 week of action. Y'all know what it is. Mock Draft Mondays right here on the channel. Thank y'all for pulling up. If you stick around to the end of the video and you find the information actionable and or entertaining, which I know y'all do, that thumbs up button, like the content, and I promise y'all there's no better place to be for the draft season this year than DD. Go check the numbers, check the stats. We're going to have you covered every single week from now until the NFL draft. Appreciate y'all. NFL Mock Monday. Let's get it. All right, let's pull it up. We've got the board pulled up, and we are no trades. We're not doing any trades. We're just drafting as the order currently stands right now. We've got a lot of time for the silly shit. Let's just talk about it straight up, where they're picking right now, who makes the most sense for these teams, and let's start the draft. At the top, 101, Travis Hunter. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about him. I believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars, they need to sell tickets as well as play better on the field, and there's no player that's going to bring butts in seats better than the two-way star Travis Hunter. I still think he's a slightly better receiver than he is defensive back, but on a team with Christian Kirk, with Gabe Davis, and with last year's first-round pick, Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram in the building, they may not need him to do that as much early. I still think he'll play some on the offensive side of the ball at the next level. I would like him to play full-time there, but this is the number one overall pick. Jacksonville very well could trade down once we get to this point, but right now, the Jaguars take Travis Hunter at 101, one of their team needs. At 102, this works out very well for the Raiders, who need a quarterback. They need a quarterback, says Raiders. I think Aiden O'Connell is okay to be a bridge if you don't love any of the top 4 or 5 guys in this class. I do think that the Raiders could potentially roll with another position here, but right here at the top, Tom Brady's connection, Shedeur Sanders and his coach, Deion Sanders, have already talked about Las Vegas being a spot they would love him to play at. He's gone. Shedeur, new quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders, picking at 102. 103, Giants are on the clock. Daniel Jones is Minnesota Viking. Tommy DeVito ain't it. Drew Lock ain't it. Brian Daboll probably on his way out. That leaves the Giants in a very interesting spot. First-round pick Malik Neighbors wants a quarterback to get him the ball. Let's go to Miami. Cam Ward, you are a New York Giant at the 3rd pick. Again, some of the obvious ones. Yes, the Giants could trade down. The Raiders could trade back. We don't know if the class is very good at QB. These teams don't have one. They don't have one. They need the players. We saw the Giants against Dallas. If they had somebody that can get the ball downfield, they probably would have beaten the Dallas Cowboys. So the Cam Ward going at pick 3 to the Giants makes a ton of sense football-wise. I think he's the second best quarterback in this class. New England Patriots. This is a pick where in the last mock, a lot of Patriots fans, probably the most dissension around this pick. I gave them Will Johnson, an incredible cornerback out of Michigan. You pair Will Johnson up with Christian Gonzalez. We saw the impact that he made on the defensive side of the ball yesterday versus the Colts. I think you've got 2 bookend corners for the foreseeable future. Everybody in New England wants me to pick Ted Aurora McMillan. I think Ted is the wide receiver 1 in this class, and he would make a lot of sense to help Drake May, but it would also make sense to protect Drake May because he's still got to run around for his life. If you put a receiver out there and he still doesn't have time, what's going to happen is he's going to be a 600-700 yard receiver, and then you're going to be bitching and complaining about he was a bust and we can't hit on receivers, where you need to focus on the inside, focus on the interior of offensive line, protecting your quarterback. Here's some of the wide receiver names that can be very good contributors at the next level. Ted McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden. I'm not going to count Isaiah Bond right now. He's had a down year, and I don't think Ao Manor is going to come out from Stanford this year. You got Restrepo out of Miami, who's going to declare. Kyron Lacey, Trey Harris. There are talented wide receivers. Evan Stewart, Ty Felton, Pat Bryant out of Illinois, Ricky White from UNLV, names that you may not be aware of, but names that can fill a role to help New England out down the line. Here's what I think they do. They go after a big-name free agent, veteran wide receiver through free agency. We see how Adam Thielen is helping Bryce Young out. Yeah, Adam Thielen's not a Pro Bowl caliber receiver now, but he knows how to win. He's been around. Get a veteran receiver there to help out your young rookie quarterback or your second-year quarterback in Drake May. Invest in your offensive front, invest in the trenches, and attack this receiver position next year. 26, there are going to be some incredible wide receivers as well. I think what New England needs to do is focus on the trenches and focus on the interior of their offensive line. And from what I've heard and saw, and I watched a lot of LSU this weekend, Will Campbell ain't quite the tackle prospect that we think. Short arms, not very athletic, not this generational tackle prospect. A lot of people think Will Campbell is going to have to kick inside at the next level. Kelvin Banks is not going to kick on the inside. Kelvin Banks can play tackle. He can play on the inside. And I do think that what is best for New England today is investing in offensive line help to protect their young quarterback. You don't want him getting banged around like Caleb Williams. You don't want him taking those shots that, the Carr brothers took early in their career. Let's protect Drake May. Kelvin Banks, while I don't know if he's a top 5 talent, it makes a lot more sense to me than Tet McMillan right now. And I know y'all love Tet McMillan. You want to jam a receiver there, but not at number 4 overall. So maybe this is a spot where New England trades back, but for the sake of this mock, we're not doing any trades. Kelvin Banks, you are a New England Patriot. This makes the pick for the Carolina Panthers quite difficult. I do think Bryce Young is their quarterback. He is playing like a number 1 overall pick since returning from being benched. And it's not a mistake that Adam Thielen, his presence on the field has helped elevate Bryce Young as well. He gets open, catches the ball, should have a touchdown in that game. So you're looking at 2 players. Abdul Carter, this dude is a top 5 pick. I think Carolina would feel real bad passing on Abdul Carter, having lost Brian Burns, knowing that Evero needs some defensive help. I love McMillan. And I think McMillan here with Bryce Young would be a huge, huge upgrade and a huge fit. But thinking through what Carolina will be able to acquire in the second round at receiver, I think the gap between McMillan and whoever they would pick at the top of the second wouldn't be as big as the gap between Abdul Carter and the edge rusher that they would try to select in the second. So for the sake of this mock for Carolina, they don't need a quarterback. They've got Bryce Young. Yes, they need a wide receiver, but potentially addressed through free agency. Edge rusher like Abdul Carter, this is a guy right here that I would have no problem paying before that 5th-year option. And I think he comes in, he makes an instant impact for the Panthers from day one. Abdul Carter was a menace this past weekend for Penn State. So Abdul Carter, you are a Carolina Panther at pick 5. Pick 6, you've got the Jets on the clock. Jets fans, I said this for a long time. I thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to come to this team, wreck this team, and leave this team. And Aaron Rodgers on his 41st birthday has done just that. He came in, he's wrecked the Jets. They're going nowhere fast. They need a new head coach. They need a new quarterback, and I am terrified. I would be terrified if I were a Jets fan right now picking at 6 because the QBs after Shedeur and Ward, I don't know. I'm very skeptical and hesitant on these guys. Jalen Milroe, Drew Allar, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, none of them scream top 6 pick in the NFL draft. None of them scream that. So we're not going to take a quarterback here, but I just want to put it on the radar that they could be in play for one of these guys. Maybe Minnesota moves on from Sam Darnold and they bring Sam Darnold back for a year to be a bridge quarterback. Jameis Winston to be a bridge quarterback. Who knows? But I don't feel comfortable selecting a quarterback here. Mason Graham versus Ohio State, he and Kenneth Grant were incredible. I do think interior defensive line would fit a need for the Jets. He's a top 5 player according to PFF. Mason Graham, come on down. You are a Jet. Leaving the Titans on the clock at pick 7. He's not great. But I do think Will Levis probably deserves another year. Titans fans, cover your ears. You're probably like, hell to the no. Get him out of there. We're not getting him out of there for Jalen Milroe. We're not getting him out of there for Drew Allar, Carson Beck, or Quinn Ewers. So let's move to a position that might be able to help him out. Knowing that this tackle class or Will Campbell may not be this generational tackle prospect that we thought, we'll pass on tackle for Tennessee right now and focus more on a wide receiver because you can't have Nick Westbrook-Akine being your primary on the outside. Tet McMillan, you are a Tennessee Titan at pick 7, the wide receiver out of Arizona, giving Will Levis a big play wide receiver on the outside to throw the ball to. He's a massive target, 6'5", over 215 pounds. He's fluid. He's been dominant since his freshman season. He is the top wide receiver in the class. Tet McMillan, 7 overall to the Titans to help Will Levis out. Give him his final shot. Like, make it happen, Will Levis, with Tet McMillan. Pick 8, Cleveland is on the clock. They play tonight on Monday Night Football. Needs running back, quarterback, wide receiver, tackle. Need a little bit of everything on the offensive side of the ball. For the Browns, there are no QBs available that we're going to take this high. You've got Jedrick Wills at one tackle. Potentially, Will Campbell can play on the right side, or you plug him in at that guard spot. But I do think that Will Campbell here, off of the board at pick 8, focus on the trenches for the Browns. Will Campbell drops a little bit from the last mock. Pick 8 for Will Campbell. A lot of concerns about his arm length, and his athleticism. So maybe kicking down inside the guard is in his future. New Orleans Saints, they needed a guard, and that would have been great had Will Campbell fallen to him at pick 9, but he's not there. They need defensive line. They need a little bit of everything. I think Derek Carr is going to be fine there, potentially a receiver in round 2. You'll get Shaheed and Olave back next year. So let's focus in on the defensive line, and there are some really good defensive linemen in this class. Kenneth Grant had a big game versus Ohio State. Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. We talked about him on the last show. Look at the edge rushers. You've got Nick Scoutron out of Texas A&M, Michael Williams from Georgia, Shamar Stewart, James Pierce there as well. We're not going to select the guard this early. There are no Zach Martin guard level prospects in this class. You got Ariante Irsay out of Minnesota, Josh Simmons from Ohio State, Cam Williams and Wyatt Mullum from West Virginia. And we're going to give him the guy that has still failed to allow any sacks throughout his career, Wyatt Mullum. He's moving up the ranks for us quite a bit. He's coming off of the clock at pick 9. I know they selected Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State last year in round 1, and they go right back to the well to improve that offensive front for Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, and company. The Cincinnati Bengals on the clock at pick 10, and they just allowed Russell Wilson to go hog wild on them. 400 passing yards. They can't stop a cold defensively. Like they just can't. And I know Ashton Jeanty seems fun. I know a Luther Burden replacing T. Higgins sounds fun. But think about that, Bengals fans. You don't want to pay T. So why the hell would you draft the receiver in round 1 to let him get to the 4th year and let him walk? Like, I just don't believe they're going to do that. They're going to have to break the bank. Jamar Chase is going to get $150 million. Justin Jefferson got $110 guaranteed. Jamar Chase is going to command more than that. Once he gets paid that, you're the guy. You are the 101 in redraft, and we don't need to spend a first-round pick on another receiver. So no Luther Burden, no wide receivers. They need defensive back help. They need D-line help. Get after the quarterback. Stop goddamn offenses. Will Johnson, you are a Cincinnati Bengal. He's an incredible cornerback prospect out of Michigan. Pick 10 to the Cincinnati Bengals. So quickly, let's recap the first 10 picks. Travis Hunter goes to the Jags at 1. Shedeur to the Raiders at 2. Cam Ward 3 to the Giants. Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas, goes to New England at pick 4. Abdul Carter, who in any other year, he's probably 101, 102. Carolina gets a gift at pick 5 with Abdul Carter. Mason Graham, defensive lineman from Michigan, goes to the Jets. Tedorone McMillan, Arizona's wide receiver, is going to help out Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. Will Campbell going to help the Cleveland Browns offensive line at pick 8. Wyatt Mullum from West Virginia going to New Orleans, and Will Johnson to the Cincinnati Bengals at pick 10. Chicago's on the clock. They've got to keep Caleb Williams upright, protect Caleb at all costs. So the Bears lose a close one, got Eberflus fired. He's gone. He's out of the picture. They've got receivers. They don't need a quarterback. I don't think they need a tight end. They gave Cole Kmet some money. They don't need a running back. Offensive line. Josh Simmons, Ariante Irsay out of Minnesota, Cam Williams out of Texas, all makes sense. Let's take the highest ranked tackle on the board, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. You are going to protect Caleb Williams because we do not need him being the league leader in sacks and hits again in 2025. Miami Dolphins on the clock. They need O-line help. They need defensive help, a little bit of everything. Edge rusher, cornerback, and there are some really good corners in this class. So we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball. Ben Morrison, Trey Amos, Javon Revel out of Eastern Carolina. All these guys can play on the outside. Are they worthy of top 12 picks? I don't know, but I don't think that there are any guards that you're going to take that high. Now, the tackle position, Ariante Irsay is still on the board. Protect Tua. Mike McDaniels needs timing in this offense to work. Tackle, Ariante Irsay out of Minnesota. you are a Miami Dolphin. The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock at pick 13. Listen, Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia, great, would fit a big need. Cannot take a linebacker here at 13. Luther Burden, also on the outside next to CeeDee Lamb, would fill a big need. Running back, Ashton Jeanty, I know folks want him to go at this spot. I'm just showing you these running backs, and I'm not here just guessing. I watch college. This channel started because of my love and passion for the game of college football. This class is loaded. Jeanty, Hampton, Johnson, Judkins, Henderson, Sampson, Tootin, Gittin, Monungai, Gordon, Coleman, Moss, Harvey, Brooks, and one of my personal favorites, Woody Marks, who PFF has rated way down here. This class is loaded at running back. You do not need to take a running back this early. If you're the Dallas Cowboys or any other team picking inside the top 15, top 20, even as good as Ashton Jeanty did. But I've given Dallas a receiver. I've given Dallas a defensive lineman. Y'all want it, you got it. Ashton Jeanty, and I think it's a very real possibility. I'm not making the picks as Jerry Jones. Who's going to put butts in seats, sell tickets, and make the Cowboys feel relevant again, even though they are not, and I am a Cowboys fan? Ashton Jeanty would do just that. I wouldn't make the selection. I think he would help this team. I think he's going to be a great player at the next level. I would just be fine with Caleb Johnson in round 2, or Quinshon Judkins in round 2, or Dylan Sampson in round 3. I think you would be great. And once we start to do more rounds in these mocks, you will see how much better the board shakes out when you don't take a running back in round 1. But Dallas, go ahead and do it, man. Jerry, you can't help yourself. Ashton Jeanty on the board at pick 13. Hell, the Dallas would probably have taken him if they were picking at 8 or 9. So right here, they get a little bit of a reprieve from that win, and they still land their running back of the future. Ashton Jeanty, you are a Dallas Cowboy. I'd buy the jersey. Reluctantly, you'd be great for Dallas. I just think that you could better use your draft capital than spending the 13th overall pick on a running back. San Francisco on the clock. You know, the season is a wrap. I mean, it's been really hard for them. Injuries, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams not being in early. Dre Greenlaw was injured in the Super Bowl game, so he hasn't been available. Talanoa Hufanga banged up. Everybody banged up. You've got to protect Brock Purdy, your franchise quarterback, and it's getting, Trent Williams is getting long in the tooth. You've got to be able to find some help up front, and I think Cam Williams right here, the other tackle from Texas, they got two big boys, 6'5", 335. Let's go ahead and come on down. You are a San Francisco 49er. The Colts are on the clock at pick 15, and you see the needs. Tight end, linebacker, safety. I continue to do this. Every single mock, give them a tight end, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. That's what they need. And you watched them this weekend. Anthony Richardson won the game versus New England, got it done. Wasn't pretty. 12 completions, 109 yards, 2 interceptions, but he ran for 50 yards, threw for 2 touchdown passes, and that was without Josh Downs on the field. They need weapons. They need weapons on the outside. They need weapons underneath. They need a tight end. We are going to continue to do it because it makes the most sense for the Indianapolis Colts. It's pretty standard. Tyler Warren, I do believe he's going to be the first tight end off of the board. Another dominant performance for this tight end. 90.6 PFF grade. He's right at 1,000 yards on the season. He runs the damn ball. He's awesome. And he's 6'6", 260 pounds, probably going to run a sub 4.6 in the 40-yard dash. Tyler Warren, instant upgrade. Colts, you got your Dallas Clark of the future. Where's number 44 as well? No arm sleeves, no tats, just no gloves, just hands, elbow pads. Number 44, go make it happen for the Colts. Pick 16. Tampa Bay on the clock. Tight end, edge rusher, cornerback. You know, watching them versus Carolina. Carolina was able to generate pressure, touch up Baker Mayfield quite a bit. And Bryce Young was finding success, almost 300 yards against this team. So we're going to look for offensive line help for Baker Mayfield. Tackles, you got this tackle out of North Dakota State, Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. Arizona's got a tackle. Don't really know who these guys are, so we're just going to bank on the fact that PFF knows a little more about this tackle class than we do at this point in time. Interior offensive line, Tyler Booker out of Alabama, big dude, and somebody that I know in the draft space, Jim Nagy speaks very highly about Tyler Booker. Might get a chance to see him down in Mobile. Tight end, we're not going Colston Loveland. I think Cade Otton is fine. Edge rusher is where we want to focus at for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mykel Williams out of Georgia, love him. Nick Scoutron out of Texas A&M, but James Pierce should not fall all the way down the board like he has been. James Pierce, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, makes a ton of sense with that coaching staff of Todd Bowles helping get the most out of this young edge rusher. The Rams are on the clock at pick 17, still in the hunt. We see him playing well. They need to upgrade some spots. Puka Nacua, they've got that. There's no tight end there either. Offensive line, they brought in Jonah Jackson and a couple of guys in the offseason. Still can improve that. But I look at this Rams team, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, you've got your running backs. You've got Puka Nacua in place, but you cannot continue to roll out DeMarcus Robinson and Cooper Kupp. I love the fit of Luther Burden with Sean McVay. He is, I don't want to call him a gadget guy, but he plays in the slot. He plays in the slot. He's very athletic, very explosive, and probably going to need to be on a team that runs a lot of crossers, that's very creative with their receivers, that find ways to scheme their playmakers open. And I think this would be the spot where Luther Burden's value would really boom. He can be that playmaker for the Rams. He can be that underneath short area target along with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp still there potentially. I think this would be a great spot for Burden to develop into, come out as that number 3 receiver and develop into that number 2 with Stafford and company. And they may even take a quarterback in round 2 if we were going that deep. So Luther Burden, pick 17 to the Rams. 18, the Cardinals are on the clock. Kyler Murray played well in this one, well enough to win. Unfortunately, they did not get it done. They've got a great tight end. They've got a young wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr., and they've continued to improve up front. I think the timing between Marv and Kyler are off. They play 2 different styles. Marv, very technical. He's where he's supposed to be. Kyler, very much off script. So let's protect Kyler a little more. Let's figure out a way to give him more time. Let's figure out a way to continue to allow him to get in rhythm and hit Marvin Harrison Jr. Tyler Booker, I know he's ranked 66 right now. Inside interior guard play will help Kyler Murray out, will help James Conner out. They just gave him a 2-year deal. Tyler Booker out of Alabama. You are an Arizona Cardinal here at pick 18. Pick 19, the Falcons. They may have a Kirk Cousins problem, but they addressed that last year with Michael Penix. Defensive line and linebacker help. This would be a great spot for them to stay at home. You've got Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia, that can come in and fill a need right away for the Atlanta Falcons. Last mock, I gave them Mykel Williams off of the edge. They were able to find some pressure this past Sunday. Let's give them Jalen Walker, linebacker, really stuffed the run. Broncos currently right now picking at 20. I don't know if they beat the Browns, where they would move up to, or they lose, where they would move up to, or move down to if they win, or move up to if they lose. But I love what they're doing with Bo Nix right now in this offense. I do not think that wide receiver is a priority of need in round 1 for him. I think defensively, you continue to upgrade your defense. You protect your young quarterback, and you protect your young quarterback not just with offensive line help, but with easy underneath targets. The Broncos this past week, they let go of Greg Dulcich, the tight end out of UCLA. This is a massive need for the Denver Broncos. And Colston Loveland, the tight end 2 for me in this class, would fill that need for Denver and would be a great short area underneath playmaking target for Bo Nix and his maturation. And for those of y'all who have just kind of got into the game or haven't been around long enough, go look at Sean Payton's success when he had Jimmy Graham at tight end. I think we can get some nice production out of Colston Loveland. Let's go through picks 11 through 20. At 11, the Bears went ahead and protected Caleb Williams with Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State. The Dolphins protect Tua with Ariante Irsay out of Minnesota. Ashton Jeanty lands in Dallas. Jerry couldn't help himself. Ashton Jeanty, you are a Dallas Cowboy. San Francisco 49ers went tackle Cam Williams out of Texas. Tyler Warren, same pick for the Indianapolis Colts, and Anthony Richardson at pick 15. James Pierce, 16th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Luther Burden goes 17 to the Rams. Tyler Booker is a Arizona Cardinal in this mock at pick 18. Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia, goes 19th, and Colston Loveland at pick 20 to the Denver Broncos. The Seahawks are on the clock. They just beat the Jets. Guard, tackle, linebacker, all of those things, positions of need for the Seattle Seahawks. But seeing Malachi Starks sit right here at pick 21, fell to Baltimore in the last one, and Ravens fans were very happy to see that happen. I just don't know how he gets past Mike McDonald here at pick 21. He can have his sort of Kyle Hamilton-like player for the Seattle Seahawks coming from Baltimore. Now he's in Seattle. Malachi Starks, probably the best safety prospect, best safety Seattle would have had since Earl Thomas was there some years ago. The Commanders on the clock at pick 22, big win. A big win for Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn. They needed that one. Get right game versus the Titans. Still need O-line help, edge rusher, and defensive back help after releasing Emmanuel Forbes. Hadn't even been in the building for 2 years, and he's gone. Ben Morrison, you are a Washington Commander. I know they traded for Sean Lattimore. They still need to upgrade that. Philly, Dallas, you've got to be able to stop the pass, and whoever the Giants bring in, the Commanders take Ben Morrison. On the clock at pick 23, the Texans offensive line. We're going right. No running back, none of that shit. Where's the O-line at? O-tackle and interior offensive line. Booker would have been great to see him in this spot. Tate Ratledge from Georgia played a good game this past weekend as well. Gray Zabel, the highest ranked offensive lineman left on the board according to PFF. We've got to protect C.J. Stroud at all costs. We have got to protect C.J. Stroud at all costs. The Houston Texans take Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. Baltimore on the clock at pick 24, and this team is so frustrating. They play well, and then they don't play well, and then they play great, and then they look like a Super Bowl contender, and then they don't, and they can score points, 30 a game, and they're struggling against Philly. What do they need? Is it the line? Is it the weapons? They need defensive back help. I don't know where to go with the Ravens. It feels like just throwing a receiver in there doesn't help, even though it feels like they need one. Offensive line doesn't quite seem like the problem. Is it creativity? Is it the defense? We know the defense is not very good, so we'll focus on the defensive side of the ball. Trey Amos at corner would make a ton of sense for the Baltimore Ravens, but they just selected Nate Wiggins. They have Marlon Humphrey. We gave them Malachi Starks in the last mock, so offensive line, I don't see anybody there that's going to be able to come in and help right away at this point in time. What do we do, Baltimore Ravens fans? I think going edge rusher or defensive back somewhere on the defensive side of the ball. Their interior defensive line is great right now with Matabuke. Roquan Smith, linebacker. Can we get another defensive back in Baltimore? Trey Amos, come on down out of Ole Miss, the highest rated cornerback left on the board. I want to give him a receiver, but do you really want me to give them Emeka Egbuka right here when you've got Zay Flowers, when Rashad Bateman is there to a degree, Isaiah Likely? Ravens fans, let me know. Probably the most confusing team in the NFL because it feels like it should be one of the best teams, and then they're losing games in which they should win. Baltimore, 24th. They take Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss. The Chargers are on the clock at pick 25. D-line, tight end, the need. Harbaugh wants to run the ball. I think running back is also a big position of need for the Chargers. You've got Omarion Hampton, my RB2 out of North Carolina, had a monster game this past Saturday for North Carolina against North Carolina State. Hampton, 6'1", 220 pounds, can catch the ball out of the backfield and run it. J.K. Dobbins knee injury. Gus Edwards not very good. Kamani Vidal not it. Tight end class is loaded. I would love to give them a tight end here. Mason Taylor. You've got Harold Fannin, but they can address this in round 2. I think this is a spot where they dive into the running back pool, and look at that. 2 RBs selected in round 1. Omarion Hampton in Los Angeles. That'd be a nasty, nasty fit. Omarion Hampton going to upgrade the Chargers' offensive running attack. Pittsburgh on the clock, and I talked about the need for them to select a wide receiver in the last mock. Calvin Austin, very good player, but he's 150 pounds. George Pickens is awesome. Van Jefferson, you can't have Van Jefferson being your number 2. Pat Freiermuth playing well at tight end. I think wide receiver would be a great position of need for them to address. And my, oh my, Emeka Egbuka would make so much sense. Power slot reminds me of Rashee Rice, but it actually would be a great comparison to Juju Smith-Schuster when he was drafted by Pittsburgh. Power slot type player. Egbuka's got really good size, good production, 6'1", 205 pounds. Emeka Egbuka coming in to play with their quarterback of the future, Russell Wilson, and George Pickens. Complements Pickens perfectly because he does the things that Pickens doesn't do, and Pickens can do the things that Emeka Egbuka cannot do. Love this fit for Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers at pick 26. Green Bay on the clock at pick 27. Tackle, D-line, and cornerback. PFF saying those are the needs for this team. Interior defensive line, this would be a home run pick. Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. He's no Mozzie Smith, playing next to Mason Graham. This is what caused the Ohio State Buckeyes so much damn problems on Saturday. Kenneth Grant, feels like a nice Green Bay player that can open some things up from Lucas Van Ness on the outside. And they've got a really good secondary with Jair Alexander, Evan Williams, Xavier McKinney, one of the league leaders in picks. Love this defensive line pick for the Green Bay Packers. On the clock at pick 28, Minnesota Vikings do not land Ashton Jeanty. He went 13th. No Omarion Hampton in this class. They need a running back. They need guard. They need quarterback. They need a lot in Minnesota, but this team is very, very good. You look at the available cornerbacks right now, according to PFF, Siobhan Revel at the top. You've got Barron out of Texas right behind him. Zai Alexander out of LSU. Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. And then my boy, Takario Davis out of Arizona. He's a good player. Denzel Burke falling down the board a little bit. But you've got some very good corners from Minnesota. Running back is a position of need, but we know the RB class is deep. So let's look at BPA. What can Minnesota do to upgrade it and improve this team? Shamar Stewart and Nick Scoutrin from Texas A&M still available. We know that they lost Daniil Hunter last year. So right here, even though guard and running back, we're not taking a running back here at the back of the first. With Hampton off of the board, Nick Scoutrin, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M, goes to Minnesota and give Brian Flores another monster off the edge to affect opposing teams' offenses. Philadelphia Eagles on the clock here at pick 29. I think they're the best team in football right now, personally. So I would kind of have those guys flip-flop. But right now they're picking 29th. Edge, linebacker, positions of need for the Philadelphia Eagles. This feels like a spot. Roseman just trades back, picks up more capital. Saquon's doing his thing. They can upgrade the offensive line. You got Michael Williams out of Georgia sitting here. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it just happened to work out this way. But the Georgia Bulldogs of the NFL with Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, they go back to the well. It's working. It's working. Georgia East here in the NFC. Michael Williams falls to 29, edge rusher out of Georgia. You are a Philadelphia Eagle. Buffalo's on the clock. Interior D-line, linebacker, positions of need. And I feel real good about Jalen Walker out of Georgia. Here we go. Where are you at? Did Walker already go? There's no way did I select Walker? Walker should still be available. Where's Jalen Walker at out of Georgia? Because that is who I would pick here unless I've already given him up. Yeah, he went to Atlanta at pick 19. Look at that, Buffalo. I thought I was just going to auto lock in Jalen Walker right there. But there are other linebackers. Jahid Campbell out of Alabama. I think he's going to be one that rises. Barrett Carter. Like Barrett Carter a lot out of Clemson, but not here in round one. And Harold Perkins, the injury, dropped down quite a bit. I think Jahid Campbell out of Alabama. This is a young player who can fly around on the season. 84 tackles, 19 assisted tackles, only 6 missed tackles on the season for him, 320 coverage snaps, almost a 79% grade according to PFF, 6'3", 244 pounds. You know, a lot of people aren't scouting this position right now, so you just got to trust what the experts are saying. Jahid Campbell, pick 30 to the Buffalo Bills. Kansas City on the clock at pick 31. They need a running back, a tight end, a tackle. I think Noah Gray is fine. Yes, they can upgrade the running back position as well, but tackle is probably where they want to focus on. Juwan Taylor, getting banged up out there quite a bit. Penalties and all kinds of stuff from him. It's been a little bit of an issue with him since they brought him over. But looking at the tackle class right now, I don't know a ton about this one to feel good about picking any of these guys at pick 31. Pacheco's back. Kareem Hunt's old. They need weapons on the outside. Rashee Rice is hurt. He'll be back. Let's give Kansas City a running back. And my RB3 in this class is Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. It's a big position of need for the Kansas City Chiefs. 3 running backs in round 1 and a very good running back class. Maybe teams are saying, you know what? Let me get my guy now because there's no way that Caleb Johnson makes it back to us in the second. Pick 31, 3 RBs in round 1. Kansas City goes Caleb Johnson, who in my opinion is David Johnson 2.0. Go watch the tape, look at the numbers. He's incredible. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. And finally, the Detroit Lions are on the clock here at pick 32. It's a very good football team, offensive line, edge rusher help. Where can they be improved? You look right now, the best available players. Jack Sawyer playing well. I think he's going to be a riser as well and sort of fits that Dan Campbell, just go get it done. Jack Sawyer, edge rusher out of Ohio State. He's been really good throughout his career. 5 sacks, 25 QB hurries on the season, 6'5", 260 pounds. Detroit, Jack Campbell seems like a perfect match made in heaven. They don't need a running back. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M is there. Let's give them Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. Jack Sawyer, you are going to be a Detroit Lion. There it is. Let's analyze the draft. Let's see where PFF sort of has everything at. There it is, the full board on the clock. Hunter goes 101, and Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State rounds out the draft at pick 32. Quick recap: Hunter 1, Travis Hunter out of Colorado going number 1, and PFF has him as a wide receiver going to Jacksonville. Shedeur Sanders, 2nd overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Cam Ward, 3rd to the Giants. Kelvin Banks, 4th to the Pats, and Abdul Carter round out the top 5 going to the Carolina Panthers. Mason Graham to the Jets. Tet McMillan to the Titans. Will Campbell to the Browns. Wyatt Mullum to the Saints, and Will Johnson to the Cincinnati Bengals. Josh Simmons to the Bears. Ariante Irsay out of Minnesota to the Dolphins. Ashton Jeanty goes to Dallas. Cam Williams to the 49ers, Tyler Warren to the Colts, and James Pierce, 16th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Luther Burden lands with McVay in L.A. Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama, goes to the Cardinals at 18. Jalen Walker, linebacker, Georgia, 19 to the Falcons. Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan, 20 to the Denver Broncos. Malachi Starks, 21 overall to the Seahawks. Benjamin Morrison, 22nd overall to the Commanders. Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State, 23rd to the Houston Texans. Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss, to the Ravens at 24. Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina, goes to the Chargers at 25. Emeka Egbuka, 26, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman, goes to the Green Bay Packers at 27. Nick Scoutron out of Texas A&M at pick 28 to the Vikings. Michael Williams, Georgia, does it again. Philly or Georgia, whatever you want to call him. He's a Philadelphia Eagle at 29. Jahad Campbell at 30, linebacker out of Alabama, to the Buffalo Bills. Caleb Johnson, a 3rd running back in this mock, to the Kansas City Chiefs at 31. And Jack Sawyer, edge rusher out of Ohio State, 32, to the Detroit Lions. Appreciate y'all pulling up for another Mock Monday. Like to do these early while everything from college is still fresh. Everything from the NFL is still fresh. We do have a Monday Night Football game, so the Broncos and the Browns draft slots could be changed and impacted by the results of tonight's game. Comment below. Let me know what y'all liked about this mock, what you thought about these picks, these players, your teams, what direction you want your squad to go in the offseason. I asked you one thing at the beginning. If you stuck around 30 minutes of the show to the end of the video and you found the information actionable and or entertaining, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, help your boy grow, because I promise you, we will have the best draft stream on the internet come spring 2025. Thank y'all. Enjoy your Monday. Happy December. Make sure y'all wake y'all asses up with me and Jay Rich every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Check out ddfantasyfootball.com. And until next Monday, I'm out. Peace.